Hi, this is Sarah Mikesel, and today we're here with Dr. Jeff Zimmerman. He is a professor at Iowa State University and is with the Veterinary Diagnostics Laboratory. So thanks for being with us today, Jeff.
Glad to be here.
Very good. Let's talk a little bit about oral fluid testing in swine and how diagnostics plays a role with that.
Sure. In brief, we started working with oral fluids in 2005 doing research, looking at that as a sample we could use in a diagnostic lab for testing. What we found is that our initial work on PRRS virus, we found that PCRs on oral fluid worked very well. So in 2010, we started actually testing for PRRS in our laboratory. We have since expanded that, so we have PCRs for quite a number of swine pathogens, mostly viral, but also some bacterial. At this point in time, we have both PCR-based assays and antibody-based assays for quite a number of swine pathogens. That would include PRRS, PCV2, influenza, quite a number. So at this point in time, in our laboratory at Iowa State, we will run about 175,000 tests on oral fluids this year. Very good.
Now, can you talk a little bit about oral fluid testing from a global perspective?
Sure. At a global perspective, what we're seeing is that it's an approach, it's a technology that's actually being used in Europe, in Asia, and Latin America. So it's really gone global. Part of that is driven by the fact that we have seen the commercialization of some assays. So the diagnostic companies, the companies that are driving PCRs or even antibody-based assays, have kits for testing. And so that makes it much easier for the rest of us, those working in diagnostic labs, actually to implement those kinds of tests.
Very good. And how are they using this type of testing, oral testing? Are they using it exactly the way we're using it here in the U.S., or is it developing there, or how's it working?
Yeah. Of course, when you get regional, people will use these tests the way they see fit. They're going to use them to fulfill the purpose of their testing. But in general, it's a surveillance mechanism. So you can collect samples over time and see what exactly is happening in your herds. So then you can start taking preventive action to stop pathogens that are actually causing you clinical losses.
Can you give us an example of how they're using oral fluid testing in another country?
Sure. Other countries are using it pretty much the same way we are here for surveillance to find out the status of their herds. But ultimately, the way they use it is going to be driven by what they need from their surveillance. In this country, we use it for decision making, among other things. We also use it to prove negativity. So you may have a PRRS site that you think is negative. This way you can verify that. You can also use it to make decisions, for example, with vaccine usage. So we have some large systems that are using oral fluids to determine when and where they should vaccinate. It's too expensive to vaccinate every pig in a site, and so therefore you can select which buildings or when you want to use your vaccines.
So Jeff, what are some of the future applications you see and how oral fluid testing could be used in the future?
Okay, I think what we're going to see in the future is as oral fluid testing expands, it's already fairly extensive, but it's going to continue to expand because producers need to be more proactive in controlling diseases. So in general, we're going to see people use it to understand what's happening in their herds and take action to stop clinical losses. We're also going to see an expansion, a continued expansion in a number of tests we have offered. We have, on a routine basis, probably half a dozen diseases that we can already diagnose using oral fluids. That's going to continue to expand. We saw a recent example with Seneca virus, where very quickly it was determined that we could use oral fluids for detecting Seneca virus. Mm-hmm. And so that's going to continue to expand as we apply the same techniques to foreign animal diseases, for example.
Right.
And so I think we're going to see that we can strengthen our entire surveillance, both in North America and elsewhere, surveillance for so-called exotic diseases.
Very
so
good.
Big future.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
You're very welcome.
Thanks.